all of them were very much early stage industries that needed effective communication to get them over the chasm. I don't know if you're familiar with Geoffrey Moore's chasm theory, but this is all about going from that very, very early adopter phase or technology enthusiast phase, which precedes early adopters, and taking a technology over the chasm, which means that obviously it starts to become appealing to the early majorities, it's called. And the reality is that when you're over that chasm, you're not done, because actually you can fail and slide back into the chasm as well. So a lot of that is going to be about capitalization. A lot of that is going to be about consumer adoption, industry adoption. And frankly, that's exactly where the longevity sector is at the moment. So to wind back to your question of 2018, I was a consultant, a very successful consultant. I've been involved in some really stellar projects, and frankly, I've done a lot to help, carbon reduction. I've helped people change their lives as a marketing guy, applying my skills as they are as part of a team. So I am a sales and marketing person. I was looking for a new industry to get into. In my period of time working with all those other industries, I missed fintech. And I was a bit annoyed about missing fintech because, of course, that spawned crypto and, of course, blockchain and all the things that we're now seeing, not fully over the chasm, of course, but they're very interesting industries. And a lot of people have made a serious amount of money out of all of that. And I was looking at that and going, well, damn, I missed that. Had my head down. I was too busy doing other things. So I was really looking for ways to get into a new industry. And these new industries don't emerge. You can research till you're blue in the face, right? But actually, it just came in a very, very random time of my life. Back in 2018, I was on a train in Norway. I was doing a 24-hour, 500-kilometer bike ride, and I was going on the train from the end to the beginning. So we were going. The cycle race was from Trondheim to Oslo, and I was halfway on the train. I was reading the Financial Times, and I read this story about a company called Rejuvenation, a gentleman by the name of Jim Mellon. They just raised $50 million as a Series A round for their biotech business associated with this thing called longevity. And then I started to look into the industry. It tweaked my interest, so I started to read up. And as a marketing guy, I looked at that industry and I thought, well, this is really, really interesting, but it is unbelievably fragmented. There were people making claims of living forever, people making claims of living a 1,000 years. There's a whole load of complex financial and scientific terms that I'd never really heard of before, and a lot of confusion, but actually a lot of optimism. And I was getting into a community that had been established 20 years, right? So I haven't created the industry. I'm a latecomer to the industry as far as many are concerned. But as a marketeer, I was looking at all of this scientific endeavor that was going on and really felt that it needed a marketing voice and a marketing strategy to help it coalesce. And my first thought was, well, I'll stage an event and I'll get all the great and the good in a room and we'll see what we can do. After some further research, I realized that there were actually quite a number of events already happening at that point in time, but there wasn't an industry publication. There wasn't a daily news website. There wasn't something that was really showing the momentum and the energy and the optimism that existed within the sector, as well as some of the cynicism, right? So you can't run a news website by being everything's cool, everything's great. You've got to look at the downsides as well, what the political, economic, and social backgrounds are to some of the issues that we're challenging. So that's where Longevity.technology started. That was 2019 when we flipped the switch to live. I ran in stealth for 9 months before that, where I took an office. I employed 3 reporters and a researcher. We basically dug in. We started to understand what the industry mapping looked like, how it was constructed. And we understood, that there were some people we needed to connect to, and they were very open to speaking with us. And effectively, we were running in stealth so that we could experiment with the market and experiment with ourselves. Because quite frankly, I'd never run a media platform before. So I've never been an editor-in-chief in my life, but I decided that I'd give it a shot. And yeah, we launched in 2019, and we're now in obviously 2024, and we had a stellar year last year. We hit 5 million unique users during the course of
Wow,
2023.
congratulations, mate.
So yeah, that was a very long answer to your question, Andrew. But you know, I sort of, you know, I get quite passionate about this stuff. So perhaps
Mate,
I'll slow down a bit.
I appreciate the attention to detail. Going back to the chasm theory, so you launched, okay, you almost like you had that aha moment on the train in Norway,
Yep.
reading about rejuvenescence and Jim Mellon. And then you launched in 2019. You were stealth, as you were saying, for 9 months, which is cool. Flying below the radar, just playing around, were you? But
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
Experiment.
you, yeah, and you would have to say you just gave a metric of success, 5 million unique users. Like, that's incredible. 5 million individuals. That's not like me going 10 times. That's me and 4,900,000, that many people touching
Exactly. Yeah.
on your
I mean,
place.
we could easily blow you away with the number of eyeballs have seen the site once and search traffic. But yeah, that's 5 million individual people all around the world have been to our site last year, which is great. It's humbling. It also shows you that things are going in the right direction, not just for me, but obviously for the industry as well.
Yeah, with the marketing as a listening device, mate, you've got the ears of many people. And so, sorry, what I was going to ask you was, how long from that time when you launched in 2019 did you feel that you jumped over the chasm or made it over the chasm? And then did you ever have any moments, pressing forward like to your answer, where you felt that you were slipping back down? Like, what were some of the challenges that you had?
Well, Andrew, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we're safely over the chasm and you know, moving forwards, because really when you run a small startup business, of course, you're at the mercy of your capitalization, you're at the mercy of the revenue that you can create. And yeah, my existence still at the front of this business is that I have good days and bad days, and the industry has good days and bad days. And quite frankly, really the industry is emerging, but it's going to take a long time. I mean, obviously, we've seen what's been happening with the likes of AI with ChatGPT hit everything last year, but AI has been an industry that's been in development for, well, you know, obviously for decades, but in earnest for really 10 years. And you will see that obviously when we'll talk later perhaps about how the industry is structured and what the benefits are of the pharmaceuticals that are coming in. We're talking about 10-year development cycles, really, because at the end of the day, you know, we're talking about therapeutics that are going to go in human bodies that are going to do really quite amazing things, and it's going to take time. But you've got the likes of Brian Johnson, you know, obviously with his own dye strategy, which is creating awareness. Of course, it is polarizing for people that, you know, what he's saying is quite extreme, and there are going to be some people that will find what he says is too extreme, but he's raising the awareness of what's happening in the space. And I think in general, the plasticity of aging, the ability to be able to control your aging, is now starting to come into the public consciousness. And that's great, because you know, we're all interested in consumer dollars, and we're all interested in people living longer lives. But frankly, the most important thing is that government and healthcare systems sit up and understand what's happening in this space as well, because they've got this real gnarly macroeconomic issue, which is happening in all societies around the world, which is that you're getting fewer younger tax earners, and you're getting more and more older people living in retirement and taking up, obviously, a burden of the healthcare system. So the US, I believe, spends $3 trillion each year on healthcare, 90% of which is for age-related diseases. So, you know, what we want to be in an industry is we want to be in a position where, of course, this is not about just living long, right? You don't want to live to 125, be in a care home, not to be able to communicate and not to be able to walk. I mean, nobody wants that. I mean, and of course, you've got to get past that first wave of cynicism with people where you kind of go, oh, just going to fill the world up with old people. No, it's not about that. First of all, it's about extending health span as long as we possibly can and compressing the morbidity period that we all will get in our lives to the most minimum amount of time possible. So that, yes, you know, there will be a point where your body systems start to shut down. You might have cognitive issues, you may have mobility issues, you may have cardiovascular issues, but you don't want them for 15 years. You want those for perhaps the last couple of years of your life. And that's the most basic view of what's happening in this space. That is to really give people and healthcare systems the benefit of an absence of disease.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the healthcare system, actually the healthcare system, I'm playing an old analogy here, is a sick care system, because you go when you're broken. You go when you've got the symptoms of a disease. And I'll maybe talk later about my own personal experiences with this. But really, at the end of the day, what you want to be able to do is be in a position where the healthcare system effectively is the longevity system. And the sick care system is much more compressed into smaller facilities, because really what will happen, and it is happening, is the pivot to preventative medicines. And that's not just happening from an industry perspective of our industry. What we're seeing now, you're probably familiar with Ozempic, Wegovy, these GLP-1 drugs that are now on the marketplace. They are really setting the tone now for extreme prevention at a macro government level, because the governments that are signing off those drugs at the moment, obviously forget all the grey market stuff of celebrities and so on, the hardcore of those sales that are putting up Novo Nordisk's share price to be the most valuable company in Europe, is that they are selling millions of those injection devices around the world, but mainly supported by governments. And that's what's going to happen in the future. So we've seen in this last 12 months a precursor of a extreme prevention therapeutic, which is about weight loss. So imagine what's going to happen when there's one that comes out about mitigating age-related diseases at a whole body systemic level. I mean, it's going to be phenomenal. We're not there yet. So to come back to your chasm question, of course, it is going to take time. We have to be patient. It is tough sometimes to make money in this industry because it's not completely revenue generating at the moment. But when it finally comes, and it is coming, and we do analysis on this all the time, we've got a great team that put data together about what's happening in the space. It is coming. And when it lands, it's going to be mega.